Hello everyone and welcome to the ride. We are going to have a little adventure today. We are taking off to a nearby cemetery. I guess we could call local from where I live. We are headed off to the Flippin Cemetery, and that would be in Flippin, Arkansas. And I have mentioned this little town before here in the Ozarks, and people have asked me about the town and the name, and yes, that is the name, Flippin, F-L-I-P-P-I-N, and it's named after the Flippin family, and that area was settled the 1830s into the 40s by the Flippin family by Judge, or the Honorable, William B. or William Baugh Flippin. And so that is our excursion today to the Flippin Cemetery. Now, for a little disclosure, we're on our way on the highway now. For a little disclosure, this is take two. This is our second trip to the Flippin Cemetery. We went there a couple days ago to shoot a video about this, and so excited to do it. I haven't been to the Flippin Cemetery in quite a while. Probably, I say quite a while, probably 3 years, 4 years, probably 3 years. And always enjoyed up there. It's up on a hill. It's beautiful. Catches a lot of breeze sometimes. So it may be breezy up there today. We went there a couple days ago. It was so windy. I mean, I'm giving through my talk and everything else, and the wind is just drowning out my voice on the video. And so hopefully this take two of this video, I think, will be a little bit better, hopefully on the sound quality. Also, I have done a little bit more research on the Flippin Cemetery for a certain type of tombstone here in Ozarks history. We have fallen down a rabbit hole for the Neck-Disckoid type of tombstone. It's just absolutely fascinating to me about this type of stone. I have found them all the way from the 1840s, 1846 date, all the way to the about 1880, is somewhere in the 1880s. That's the last date I can find the Neck-Discoids here in the northern part of Arkansas in the Ozarks. I am fascinated by these Neck-Discoids because of the shape. The shape is, it looks like someone's head sticking up out of the ground with a neck on it. There's also different styles, and I will leave a link down below of some of the papers and the books, and a book that you can get on the Neck-Discoid. I'll leave a link down there, but they actually go all the way back to Tennessee. You can find these in Tennessee, a few counties in Illinois, 17 counties in Tennessee, a couple in South Carolina and Virginia, and they are here in the Ozarks. And my fascination with them as an historian is basically the migration patterns of these families that I'm tracing back to Tennessee. And I'm also tracing these families back as I go back in time and find out these are the heritage. They're Scottish. They have Scottish heritage. Some Welsh, but mostly Scottish. And the style of these tombstones just fascinates me because they're not ordered from anywhere. I mean, there's no factories to order these tombstones here in the Ozarks. They're not cranking out Neck-Discoids into some masonry factory. Somebody locally is pulling native stone from the shelves of the bluffs here or down on the river on the creeks, and they are carving out the Neck-Discoids. There are certain different styles of these Neck-Discoids with, like I said, with the shoulders. I am now coming across some of these of the old type of limestone called Cotter limestone. That's from here. We're passing through Cotter, Arkansas, getting ready to pass through Cotter, Arkansas right now and go over the White River, but it's called Cotter limestone. And I'm finding Neck-Discoids made out of Cotter limestone. Now, you chisel on these a lot and you work on them, they start cracking. So what I'm finding on these Neck-Discoids, some of these in the earlier years are chiseled out and carved, and they do have the neck and the shoulders, but the head of them is not spherically round or a disc round. They're actually a little bit more square shaped, like a tombstone, but they still have the neck on them. And now I'm finding the styles, different styles by different masons or artisans doing this, and I have kind of gleaned out 4 or 5 different unique styles of the engraving for the fonts and the lettering on the tombstones. My fascination also is, who in the world were these guys chiseling out these tombstones? Who has that heritage and that background in Tennessee? Because that's where the people came from. These people here in the Ozarks, they're coming from Tennessee. There's a few in Kentucky that have Kentucky roots. The Flippins have Kentucky roots, but they're in that part of Tennessee and Kentucky that's all linked together. So that's why we're going to the Flippin Cemetery, because when I was going through the website Find a Grave, oh my goodness, I'm putting in, just to reference anything, tombstones 1880 or before, and I came up with 2 Neck-Discoid tombstones. I thought, well, let's just go take a look at them. And when we went there, it wasn't 2. And we'll get into what we actually saw and discovered on the Neck-Discoids in the Flippin Cemetery. So hold on, we're getting ready, and we'll be there in just a couple minutes. Let's go. Well, welcome to the Flippin Cemetery. Take 2. We're going to start walking up the hill at this cemetery. This is a pretty old cemetery. We're here in the Ozarks. That's why I knew I could probably spot a few Neck-Discoids in this area. I remember Flippin, Arkansas as a kid. I had a great aunt Wilbanks, Aunt May Wilbanks. She lived on the main strip in a little white house downtown Flippin on the main strip. And I would come and visit her on the summers, and I would spend the night at her house in the summertime sometimes. Other times we just come down and visit. I remember one thing about Aunt May's house on the main strip there in Flippin. She had a porch swing, and we sat outside on that porch swing for many hours and listen to her tell stories, listen to her and my granny Anderson tell stories, and just brings back memories. So we're outside, a little bit outside of Flippin. Down below us is the Ranger Boat Factory. It's a pretty significant thing here in Flippin for Ranger boats. Now they also do something called Texas boats. Hope I got that name right. Anyway, and we're up here on the hill. Got some nice pine trees, walnut, some oak. It's a nice sample of the Ozarks up here. As I come up here on top, as you can see down behind me, the valley. Turn just a little bit more. So it's not as bad as on the wind side up here on the Flippin Cemetery. today as it was a couple days ago. I mean, we still have some wind, but we're not competing with the wind like we were back then. I want to go ahead and take a look and show you our first tombstone to take a look at. The guy's name is James Jenkins. And this is the stone that I'm talking about. We get a chance to take a look here at his name. The name is actually spelled a little bit different than we would today, but back then they spelled it, his last name, Jinkins, or no, Jinkins. And so, no G in there. He's the son of Benjamin Jenkins. Today we would spell that G-E-N, but they did the J-I-N. So, a little bit different on the spelling here than what we would do today. So if you're trying to look him up exactly by those lettering on Find a Grave, it's spelled a little bit different. If we take a look at this stone, it is native stone. You can see the striations from the sedimentary rock of the limestone here. And I'm calling this Neck-Discoid because it does have the neck, as you can see right here, planted into the ground. Then we come back up. I am finding here in the Flippin area, at the two cemeteries for the Neck-Discoids, most of them have kind of more of a square top. It's not so round and disked. And I started taking a look at some of these stones, how they were chiseled and worked. They're pretty thick, and they're not as easy to chisel around and make in a disc type. And there's a little bit more striations and cracks in the stone. So the stonemason, I don't think, really wanted to break the stone, but he did put the neck and the shoulders here on the Neck-Discoid. So he was born in 1811. He passed away in 1854. He's about 43 years old. And this is the stone I was coming after, one of the stones. So it's absolutely beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. Now as we move away from James, I want to go ahead and take a really quick look here. This is not a Neck-Discoid, but this is a relative here of another Jenkins. And there is not a Neck-Discoid on this for this stone right here, but it is another Jenkins. Time period is still pretty close to the same. Could be a daughter of James here. I haven't done the research on that. The script is pretty hard to read at the moment, but I want to go ahead and take a look at this one right here. And same kind of stone. This is all these stones were pretty much harvested out of the same area, as you can tell by looking at the stone. And on each side of the stone over here, there's indentations right over here and here, where it was about to be carved as a Neck-Discoid in here, but they stopped for some reason. So same type of stone. Could have been a Neck-Discoid at one time, but it's not. The other one, little one I want to show right here is it's E-F-F-E-L-L, Flippin. And so this is another type of, you can see the disc in here with the shoulders, not a true to form Neck-Discoid, but still a really beautiful old little stone of a small Flippin right here. This is my Jim Dandy. This is the one, oh my goodness, this is the one that I came for. And if you can see the script, it says D.F.L. Lynch. Was born January, I believe that should have been the 25th, AD 1851, and died December 1st. actually, I thought that was 15. Okay, December 1st, 1876. Age 25 years, 11 months. And so the DF, the D is for Dempsey. Dempsey Lynch. This is just a beautiful, true to type, Neck-Discoid, 1876. The craftsmanship, the etching on the lettering is very close to this one of this little girl or child up here for the little Flippin. Same type of etching. So cannot read everything on the little Flippin headstone, but I'm guessing from the script, the stonemason, the craftsman looks pretty much the same right here. But this one is beautiful. I'm just going to flip around here, and there's really nothing on the back side here. As you can see again, native stone, sedimentary rock right there. And as we look up here, take a look at this. We have yucca plants. I love yucca plants. I remember a couple of yucca plants in the cemetery where I grew up by. So I grew up in Ozark County by a small cemetery. Hey, oh, look at here. Can you see it? I don't know if you can. We're by the airport in Flippin. Nice old plane just took off. I grew up in Ozark County, southern part of Ozark County, a little place called Mammoth, and I grew up about a quarter mile from the Mammoth Cemetery. So I grew up around old tombstones. So my familiarity with tombstones and old graveyards, sometimes I can now see it can be a disadvantage, because what I have noticed and look at, like, oh yeah, I've noticed that, I've seen that before. But when I started out on this journey in this rabbit hole, I had to regroup myself, kind of flush everything out of my brain, what I knew, and go back and relearn things all over again. And so I love the yucca plants. The yucca plants can also hide a lot of beauty that's inside the yucca plants. And so we're going to take a look inside this yucca plant, what just blew me away. Now, this hidden tombstone in the yucca plant is actually a Neck-Discoid, and I just didn't realize it when I came up here on the hill. And so we'll take a look at that tombstone in just a moment. But I want to go ahead and down here. This is a whole family buried together. This is a this one is sad. This kind of just hit me in the pit of the stomach and reached up and choked my throat a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is Thomas J. Cade, excuse me. Thomas J. Cade. He was born in 1846, and we can already see we're losing part of the tombstone on the facing here, but it is a Neck-Discoid. He was born in 1846. He passed away in 1860. So he's 14 years old, and so he passed away in 1860. Now, he passed away of a fever, and we know that by the U.S. Federal Census mortality schedule. He is actually listed on the schedule. He died of a fever. So this young man, about 14 years old, he passed away here in the area of Flippin, and he is buried here. Right next to him, this is what really gets me here too. His younger brother, James Cade. James H. Cade. He was born in 1848, it says right here. He died in 1859. So he's 11 years old. Here's the issue. Now, he's also listed on the federal mortality schedule. He passes away of a fever also. But they have the date here of 1859. If you look on the mortality schedule, he didn't pass away in 1859. He passed away in 1860, right after this, in January, it looks like. So his brother dies of a fever. He dies of a fever. They have his tombstone, Neck-Disckoid. The disc is not so much there, it's more of a square top, because actually if you start chiseling on this thing right here, as a stonemason, you're not going to get a disc, you're going to start getting broken apart. But they did put the neck on it. This, oh my goodness. You have your tombstone chiseled out for you before you pass away. By the mortality schedule, he passed away in 1860. So, wow. So knowing that you already have your tombstone, you're 10, 11 years old, and you have your tombstone already chiseled out for you. Right next to him is his father, is Isaac Cade, born 1811. We still got the neck going here, got the shoulders. Now Isaac Cade, born in 1811, passed away in 1861. Civil War era. Not listed on the mortality schedule what he died of. I don't know if he died of fever, disease, whatever happened. So here's Isaac. So we have the two sons laid out here. Isaac here in 1861. And then we go over here to this. This is Maddie, or Matilda Cade. Born 1811, she passed away in 1860. Mortality schedules do not show her. I cannot find her at the moment, but she's amongst the yucca plant here, and you can see the neck going on here, and here she is. Hey dear, how you doing? Oh my. Kind of gets you. Right now we're taking a look at the White River Mountains. This is where the White River is flowing on the other side of that hill. Then you got the Buffalo River over there too. Well, we've come here and had a chance to take a look at our Neck-Discoids. A week ago, I just thought we had 43 that I could document here in the Ozarks. And it looks like we've garnered another 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, we've garnered another 7. The count puts us up to 50. And I have not gone to another cemetery that I've been there a couple years ago. It's called the Old Flippin Cemetery. It's in the northeastern part of Baxter County, Arkansas. And I got a friend there who, not there, but have a friend who mentioned it to me. Hey Abby, how you doing? And Abby mentioned to me, hey, what about these? And we have talked about those, and we're gonna go take a look at those and just explore these certain shapes, peculiar shapes here in the Ozarks. I've got a whole lot more on Ozarks history that doesn't have to do with it doesn't have to do with cemeteries or graves. But I wanted to go ahead and visit these old ones to build in some context. In the next couple of months, I have been working on, I started working on right before pandemic. I finished in 2019, finished in February, March of 2020, slavery in Marion County, Arkansas. And what it looked like, the demographics, and to be honest with you, I took a lot of American history in grad school. In grad school, I did American history. I did African American history. I heavily took those courses to give me some depth and background so I could actually do this in the Ozarks. And I'm going to approach this with as much sensitivity and reverence, but there were issues that were going on that just tears me up and it breaks my heart. And so we're going to delve into that here this coming year in 2023. We're going to delve into the slavery issue and the demographics. And I'm talking about male versus female. I'm talking about juvenile, adolescent, adult, elderly. What really surprised me was how many young people were held captive in the northern part of Arkansas in slavery. And that's not to point the finger only at Arkansas, because I have found out that the trade was heavily dependent upon the north. And so I'm parsing that out. I'm going to share it this year. I'm going to share it this year. I don't know what that'll do to my algorithm. I don't know what that will do to my channel here on YouTube. But I think it's important enough to share what I have researched and garnered. And I think it's just really important. So the reason I'm doing a lot of these old stones, I am building up context for myself. I am sensitive to the families who were in the business and I am sensitive to the family who were in the business of slavery. But I think I can approach this as a native of the Ozarks whose family was here. I think I can approach this the right way, and I think we can learn some really valuable lessons. I think we can actually open up a whole lot more what actually happened here in the Ozarks. It's just kind of glossed over the past few years. It's just been kind of too taboo to share. Well, we're going to share it. And so that's actually coming up this year on Ozarks History. It's January 1st. Happy New Year. New adventures, new rabbit holes to fall down. But the reason we're going to these cemeteries looking at this, I'm building up context for this time era of the 1840s, 50s, and 60s. That's my goal here. And I'm just happy that you're along in the process with me. Well, we're getting ready to leave the Flippin Cemetery. And we're going to take a nice, beautiful walk. Look in behind me. Look at this road up here on top of the mountain. Isn't that beautiful? The yucca plants here on the side of the fence. We're going to go ahead and walk on down the mountain here. Just a few parting thoughts. First of all, I want to talk about old stones. Some people may look at old stones, field stones in the cemetery, and think, oh, it's something past, it's something gone. A person who is buried there underneath that field stone was someone that was born, that was cherished, had real history. Family loved them, maybe. Sometimes family despised them. They lived a life, and even field stones should be cherished. I know as a kid growing up in the Ozarks, my Granny Anderson would visit a cemetery maybe once a year down here in Baxter County, Arkansas. It's called the Old Cooper Cemetery. And it always amazed me. We went to that cemetery. There were field stones for her grandparents, Gherkins. There were no stones there with names on it, but I remember she had a map drawn on a small old piece of paper in her Bible. And I remember one time getting out of the car with her, and she had that piece of paper in her Bible, and she pulled out that piece of paper, and we walked up, and it was a really good map. She walked up to those field stones, and we put the plastic flowers on. Didn't have silk flowers back then, we had plastic flowers. We put the plastic flowers on, and she shared stories. And even those stones would bring back memories. They resonated with something. And we are fortunate to come to cemeteries here that are just full of beautiful stones, as you can see up here behind me. Absolutely full of beautiful stones. And most of these are from factories or local shops that they have artisans there that have chiseled them out. But some of these old ones from way back in the 1800s, they didn't have that luxury of having, shops, mortuary shops for the stones. It's what they could use, what they find at hand. And I find these Neck-Discoids a blend between the two. And it shows it shows cultural identity of where these pioneers came from. We got Tennessee and Kentucky area. We have a little bit of Virginia mix in there. It shows the cultural identity and the heritage that they had and that they were showing. They didn't really realize they were showing it, I don't guess, unless we sit down and talk with them, and I will one day in heaven. But it shows that cultural identity. It shows the community identity also, how these stones are just together. And like I said in the past, cemeteries are a community. You're not buried by a stranger usually. You're buried by somebody you're family with or friends with, who you respect, you want to be nearby, even in death. So a cemetery is a community. And so these old stones, we need to treasure them. Now here's my soapbox. Cremations. If you want to be cremated, you go right ahead and be cremated. I am going to give you a personal point of view on cremations. The problem I have with cremation is someone who is cremated, they're put in an urn or a box or a jar, and they are placed somewhere in a house, and something happens to that family member who is carrying over that box, and that urn or ashes have no tracing identity to them. What I'm concerned about as a historian and genealogist, but as a historian, these tombstones are documents. These are documents. These are valuable documents. I mean, we've got from 1859, 1860. That's, oh my goodness, that's 162, 163 years old. That is a long-standing document. These documents are valuable. So if you're going to get cremated and you want to have your ashes sprinkled somewhere, have half of your ashes sprinkled somewhere. Find a cemetery. Get a memorial stone. Get a tombstone. Get your name etched on there. Get your name, the date, birth, death. If you want to put family members on there, I mean, for what you spend in cremation, you're saving money. Get a tombstone. Bury part of your ashes there. It's just such a valuable thing as a historical document. In the past, I've actually ordered tombstones for veterans, Civil War veterans, Union, Confederate. I love ordering tombstones. They're documents. They come in, I'm all excited. I've got a 300-pound document. It's a white stone document. It's going to last. It's not going to last forever. As we can see, some of these etchings on these stones are wearing away, but they last for a long time for future generations to come back and get a glimpse of different things. Yes, everything is digitized, but what happens if things that are digitized or on paper, something happens to them? At least you have a stone somewhere. And so that's why I love cemeteries, because it's a huge filing cabinet. This is a filing cabinet. People are filed away here to the earth, to their eternal destination. But the document here will last 100 years, 150 years, 200 years. I don't know how long. Depends on the type of stone that you get. If it's too soft, it's gonna erode away. But I want you to think, please consider, you know, if you want to be sprinkled somewhere in Hawaii or somewhere in the woods, whatever, fine. Get something documented. You know, also in my mind, I think a cemetery is a wonderful place. It's a place to come, and it's a place of finality. It's a place for family members to say, yes, this has happened to my loved one. This has happened. I can come here, I can weep, I can cry, I can remember the good times. I can just sit here and remember the good times, and then I can walk away and keep growing, and it's part of the grieving process. And so I've given this speech to a little sermon to other people that I know, and I just think a document is a very important thing. It's a wonderful thing, and if it's in stone, hallelujah. Well, I want to thank you very much for visiting us with us today and taking a trip on our adventure here to the Flippin Cemetery. Have a great time. Had a great time today. Found 7 Neck-Discoids. Just can't beat that, can you? Thank you very much for all the people who like and subscribe to the channel. We also have sponsors down below. We have Cabela's and let's see, Bass Pro, and we have some other places for backpacks, history packs, for doing research. Carry all your belongings. Has some really good deals. Really appreciate you doing that and reaching out and using those links. It helps us here at Ozarks History so we can go out and travel and do other things. It does make a difference. We have a goal of hitting 100. We need a goal. We have a goal of at least 1,000 subscribers, and I would just love to hit that. So if you have a friend who would enjoy Ozarks History, share this link with them. Looking forward to seeing you again, and we'll have another great adventure. We're going to need to sit down in the studio, and we're going to need to answer a bunch of questions and go over some things that we've been receiving. Looking forward to doing that really soon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.